Hi, I'm Al from Trekheads. This was my storeroom for my business, but now it's turned into more or less Trekheads Central. That's because I'm preparing for our Nine Spoons Challenge bicycle tour from Casablanca to Riga. It's about 5,000 kilometers, and I'm planning to take about 2 months to do this ride. And I'm doing all this from a perspective of just a regular guy. I'm not an athlete or anything. I've done a couple of bicycle tours in the last 1.5 years, and everything I know about riding is more or less things that I've learnt along the way. And so it's part of the adventure of touring is what you learn and how you learn to adapt. And the knowledge that I gain on these tours, I hope, might be of some use to any regular person who wants to step outside of the box and try to enjoy some things that regular people just don't do every day. So I hope someone out there can find this information of some use. Life is actually pretty simple on the trail. All you really need is 2 waterproof bags, one dry side, one wet side. The wet side is the side that anything that gets wet from condensation or dew, like the tent, goes in there. And on the dry side you have food, your maps, or your documentation and that sort of thing. Let's start with the wet side. First of all, the tent, which is already in the bag here. Then I would have my self-inflatable mat, and I'd also have my stuff that my kit that I take to the campsite and with all my cooking gear and etc. At the bottom of the wet side, I put stuff that I don't need to get to very often, and that there's no problem if it gets wet. That would include my knife sharpening equipment and axe sharpening equipment, some extra super glue, straps and stuff for my bags, and some extra rope if I need it in an emergency, some extra ointment here, and half a litre of emergency water, which hopefully I'll never ever need. For the dry side, I don't have much to show you at the moment because it will mainly contain food, but what else I'd have all my maps. Here this is stuff that I'll use for my sandpaper for my carving and spoon making, some electronic gear, and just some extra emergency things that would include a needle and thread, some extra glue, some patching stuff, some ointment, a little bar of soap, some wire that will fix anything, some washing detergent, and an extra little clip here. In between the bags we have the luggage rack. So on top of the luggage rack I would normally put my tarpaulin, my ground sheet. On top of the ground sheet I'd put my little pad that I use for sitting and also for fanning the fire. On top of that, the trusty old axe, and then in this waterproof dry bag I would put all of my clothes. These are all my spare clothes that also doubles as a pillow. And also I put my sleeping bag in there, and that would be the stuff I put on the rack. So I don't have to waste energy moving around a lot. I shouldn't need to take anything apart from food, anything more than this to the campfire every night. And in here it has everything that I would need. Not mentioning the stuff that I might need for my spoon carving, which I'll be doing, of course. So in the evenings, of course, you need your headlamp. Here is my this fork, which I made myself. So that's what I use for eating. Of course, I have my toothbrush. What have we got here? This is a towel, which comes in very handy, and it looks a bit raggedy. It is washed, but it's the first towel I used on my first trek. And we've been through a lot together, and I just find it very hard to part with, and hopefully it'll make it also through this trip as well. On top of that, of course, toothpaste with my toothbrush. It's probably token, but deodorant. It makes you feel human. And very often I've been caught out. I can start a fire in any conditions. But when you're dead dog tired from riding 100 kilometers, you do not want to be spending a lot of time getting a fire going. So what helps me is if there's not much resource around to get a fire going, I have emergency, in this bag I have birch bark kindling, which burns even when it's wet. but when the weather conditions get really intolerable, I also have these emergency fire starters that I made myself, and you make those out of used cotton wool and Vaseline, and you kind of like mix it all together, put it in a watertight casing, and that will burn for about 15 minutes, and no matter what the conditions, you should be able to get a fire going. And of course then I'd have a lighter and that sort of thing, and I'd have my 2 cooking implements. Further, we've got I love my coffee in the mornings, of course, and we have this cup which I can immediately boil my coffee in. I don't have to boil water and then pour it into the cup. I can just boil it in here. This is coffee mixed with sugar all ready to go, and this particular coffee tin has actually got a convex edge, and I thought, well, that's a waste of space, so I thought I might use it up and actually make that as my storage for extra gaffer tape, or what's it called, duct tape, that I might need for emergency. So that's stuff that I'll take by the campfire. And for my front bag, that's where I put all the stuff that I need quick access to. That would be number 1 on top, toilet paper. Okay, I have a medical kit here, some high energy food, snacks and that sort of thing. These will be optical glasses that I need in the evenings or whatever to see at a distance, and also my sunglasses. Some things that I might need crossing borders, maybe a passport and my credit cards and that sort of thing. This bag also is 100% waterproof, by the way. Also a very useful implement here, which is actually a magnifying card reader, which is very handy. Also, rather than a Swiss Army knife, I prefer to use a multi-tool any day. This thing is the most handy thing tool that I've ever carried and ever used. Also, just for if my hands get a bit cold, I'll have these and they're good by the fire and breaking things with, like these universal working gloves, and a bandage just in case. Also some wire for fixing things. Wire will fix anything almost, as will duct tape. So these 2 things, also easy access requirements there. Also we have some zinc cream, which has a number of uses. It can block, it's 100% sunblock, and it also helps with gashes and rashes and that sort of thing. And then I've also got pawpaw ointment, which also helps with the inevitable rashes that you get from bicycle riding. Have a few little spare parts here, and also and then along the way, if something goes wrong and somebody puts me up somewhere, I've got this that I'll be giving as presents to people who might help me along the way or whatever. And also the inevitable Trek Heads stickers, where I'll be handing out those to people along the way, and help promote the ride and our site and that sort of thing. On top of all that, this is the only gear that everything I've shown you so far is what I would take on a long distance trek anyway. The only thing that's specific to a bicycle is just the spare parts of the tube. A few little tools here. These are for changing the tyre. A couple of little Allen keys that I don't already have in this multi-tool here. Puncture repair kit. Some sort of tools there to replace the chain with if I need to, or fix the chain. And some, we call them octopus straps in Australia. And that's about it. That's the only stuff that I'll take for the bicycle. Now, with regard to clothing, remember, I'm coming from the perspective of a trekker. So basically, the clothes that I wear wouldn't be much different from any other normal clothes that I'll wear on any other trek. And one thing that I'd like to emphasize about if you're going to be doing long distance bike riding is it's very possible that you will be riding in non-stop rain for days and days and days and days, which I've experienced, and believe me, it makes you miserable if you don't have the right gear. So I quickly learned that the only thing that I found as a best solution, it might not be conventional, but it's something that really works for me. And you have to think in context of riding for a long time. So basically, the solution I came up with is riding with rubber boots. Now, rubber boots don't get wet; they get a bit damp from the inside, but they'll keep your feet warm, and they'll never get soaking wet like they would if you were normally riding with any other sort of boots or shoes, for that matter. If you're wearing normal shoes or some other specialized bicycling equipment, I don't think there's anything that will stay dry all the time. It will get wet and then it will not dry out. The good thing is, even if these things do get wet, overnight they'll dry out, and you'll be able to use them all over again, and they won't get smelly like shoes would, because if your shoes are wet for a month, you and other people will know about it. Now, to keep these things dry, if I'm riding, of course I can't have water going inside from my pants, and I actually purchased this is 100% waterproof sailors equipment, or sailors equipment. So I'd wear these 100% waterproof pants, which would go over the top of the boots like that, and then that will stop the rain from getting anywhere. Okay, what's that? Where does that go?